How are we doing? Let's see, we gotta get this going. There's 6 out here and 5 left. Now 8 over here. That means now we need another left. Well, now you got 10, man. Need 4 more to go. Come on. Come on, you LIBTARDs and Karens. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back in the politic day. Monday, politic day. It is going to be a lovely politic day. Right now, we're just waiting to get the thing up and running here and get it going. Hopefully, war job's done. Let's see. Why it's taking forever today? You too. Again. There's 12 out here, 5 likes. Come on, you all gotta hit the like one. Like and share, man. All those things are free. I mean, I know why you guys like doing that stuff. Oh yes, let's get going with this one here. Let's just get this going. Over here. It's coming.
I recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided.
Come on, LIBTARDs and Karen, start talking. I know you're right there.
If you have diabetes.
If you got diabetes. LIBTARDs. You can buy that little meter. Little meter.
Oh, Governor Tim Walz has been caught in several big lies. This guy is just digging his own grave. The lies are going to make him lose his governorship, which I couldn't be happier about.
There we go. There you go. Get and do something in your life, man. There we go. Hello there, Jericho. How are we doing today?
To help me go through this and more fraud, I have Lisa Damuth. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Just so my audience knows, Lisa is a state representative. She's also the Speaker of the House. So this is somebody high up in government that has insight on what is going on. Lisa, I got to tell you, my audience is furious with Tim Walz. This is some of the biggest fraud in American history. They feel like their money has been stolen. Minnesota has been defrauded, and then that money is just being shipped out of the country. What was your first reaction when you learned about the different ways that American taxpayers were being defrauded under Tim Walz?
Stephen, it's really important for your audience to recognize that this isn't new fraud under Governor Walz. There has been fraud that has riddled his entire time, his 7 years as governor here in the state of Minnesota. So far, there have been 28 allegations of fraud scandals. The most recent, or the one that's getting the top attention, is this Feeding Our Future. The other thing that's important to recognize, these aren't just state dollars. These are federal tax dollars. So it affects all of us when this money is going out. But there is something in the state of Minnesota called the Office of Legislative Auditor. That's a nonpartisan office that looks at different agencies and programs within that. Stephen, under Governor Walz, we've recognized that there has been a lack of internal controls in Department of Human Services, in Department of Education, and many other agencies during his entire time. The worst part is, now that it's getting national attention and Governor Walz is acknowledging the fraud, he's never fired a single state employee over this.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I knew there was some cover up until he couldn't anymore. Now he's trying to claim credit, but he's not even firing the very people that have allowed this to happen.
Yes, in fact, in Department of Human Services, the person that is the acting commissioner right now has been in Department of Human Services here in Minnesota since 2017 and was a compliance officer. Part of that role is to oversee the compliance within the agency. Clearly, there's been fraud over the last number of years. Now that person is the acting commissioner appointed by Governor Walz, where for months they're looking for an actual commissioner. So that's the level of fraud that has been allowed to go on. And the media in Minnesota hasn't covered it as widely and broadly as they should have. I'll just be kind about that. One of the best things that happened here in the state of Minnesota was when Governor Walz was put on the national ticket to run as Harris's VP pick. We finally started getting some national attention, where I was saying we had in 2023, we had an $18 billion surplus in our state budget. In 2023, Democrats were in full control here in the state. That entire surplus was spent, some of it ongoing, not all of it. Taxes and fees on all of us here in Minnesota were raised another $10 billion. We already had record fraud feeding our future, and yet our kids can't even read at grade level. That is the state of Minnesota right now under Governor Walz and his time as governor.
Recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided to test it with you. If you have diabetes or
Governor Walz and his time as governor.
Oh, okay.
Where to start, right?
Yeah, I had Royce White on, who ran for president, or let's see. No, Senate. It wasn't Senate. Thank you. And he was telling me how the taxes keep going up and the reading level keeps going down, and just like children's futures are just being stolen. And he was the one that pointed out to me that they don't really care about that. They just care about the power. It was the first time that someone ever pointed it out to me that way. But, Ilhan Omar is now saying, hey, the Somali community was defrauded. Tim Walz is now saying, hey, I'm cracking down on these people and putting them in jail. I'm going to show a video that you posted over on X that I think my audience will enjoy. Let's watch this together and then we'll react to it. But this goes through how Tim Walz is just lying to the American people.
Yeah. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his political allies continue to incorrectly claim that the state was responsible for stopping the massive Feeding Our Future fraud, despite the evidence that's come out in each trial and the legislative audit that was done proving that false. This week at an event, Walz claimed the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which the governor oversees, investigated the case, then handed it over to the federal authorities who charged it. The truth is, the BCA was not involved at all. It was the FBI. Then on CNN, St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter said this.
And by the way, those fraud allegations were uncovered by local law enforcement, and our state attorney general pressed charges. Our state law enforcement presence is what caught that, is what held those folks accountable.
Again, it's not true that local law enforcement uncovered the fraud. And who prosecuted it? it was the U.S. Attorney's Office, not the state attorney general. Look at the timeline here from the legislative audit. In February 2021, the FBI actually first contacted the Minnesota Department of Education about fraud allegations that they had heard about. Then in April 2021, MDE provided info to the FBI about the fraud. Remember how there was also a lawsuit after the Education Department did try to stop paying the fraudsters? Well, in that case, the Attorney General's office and MDE did not even tell the judge that fraud was the reason they wanted to stop paying. Look at this damning deposition of MDE Assistant Commissioner Darren Cordy during that civil case. Feeding Our Future's lawyer asks, did you ever address with the commissioner the possibility of there being any fraud in the meal programs? Cordy answers, no, not in those terms. Then, does MDE, to your knowledge, have any reason to suspect there's been intentional acts of fraud with respect to the meal programs? And Cordy answers, no. At this point, I've reported over 100 stories on the Feeding Our Future case. I know an untrue statement about this case when I see one. If this talking point from the governor continues, you can consider this the fact check.
Okay, so is going to run cover for them? Are they hoping the American people are too stupid or too distracted, or that Tim Walz can just smile and say, well, I'm a dummy, and get away with it? Your thoughts, because this guy's having his whole life blown up right now, and I love it.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful that you showed your audience that clip, because when that came out, that is one of the best bits of coverage that we've had, because we typically don't see the truth about this being exposed in our local media. We just don't. We've got some that are doing an excellent job, but not everybody. What I would say, though, is there's no way that Governor Walz can run from this fraud anymore. This has finally started to catch up with him, and Minnesota taxpayers are going to be holding him accountable. With autism services, I just want to give you this example. Autism services, and now these are numbers within the Somali community, that when you figure 4-year-olds, the number of kids, 4-year-olds in the Somali community that have been diagnosed with autism so that they would then receive services from these providers, both the number of service providers have expanded in a large way, and it's almost 4 times the state average of autism cases with 4-year-olds. There's got to be something there. When you look at the Feeding Our Future, there were communities that were saying some of these fraudulent people a day, when that was barely the population of the community. If DHS had been doing their job, you would have thought, even during COVID, because we had big restrictions here in Minnesota, that wouldn't you have thought a DHS inspector or an employee would have driven by those sites to make sure everyone was at least socially distanced at the time, if they were claiming to be, serving 100, 200, 1,000 people? Nothing, no accountability. So when you see autism services go through the roof, wouldn't you ask, why is there such a concentration of cases of autism? What is going on? You would have thought there would have been more investigation, and yet there wasn't. It was just keep paying it out, keep paying it out. Now, people will say, well, Republicans, why didn't you step in? Why didn't you force anything to be changed at a legislative level? Democrats had full control here in the state government in 23 and 24. Full control, every vote needed to pass an expanding budget. We couldn't hold it back. We could have hearings. We could have bills introduced. We couldn't get attention like we needed. I'm grateful for the U.S. Attorney's Office that has also been here to clarify things and really investigate.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. You would think if you were handing out that level of money for that number of people and you go, wait a minute, this is more than the entire population. Like, what are they, like having Thanksgiving on our dime or something like that? So, I'm grateful that you guys are getting back control and that this whole thing is getting exposed. Had I known about it, I would have had you guys on earlier. But once I see corruption, I get it on my show as quick as I can. I appreciate all the hard work that you're doing on that. I had also read over the weekend that Trump's U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, called Tim Walz a liar said, you're not the one that exposed the fraud, and it's actually the U.S. Treasury that's doing most of the heavy lifting. Is Tim Walz trying to salvage his reputation, and so he's just dripping these lies out to the left-leaning media? Or, again, I'm just trying to figure out why he would tell these lies knowing that he's not the one, he's not the hero that he's portraying himself to be.
I don't know why he tells the lies that he does, but if you looked at his national run for VP, there were a lot of lies, you know, as far as his military service, where he was in China, when he was there. There were a number of lies that were coming through. But as far as with the Feeding Our Future cases and all of the fraud here in Minnesota, whether Governor Walz is lying to cover it or if he is seriously not aware, which I can't believe that. Governor of our state, you think of it in business terms as the CEO of our state, the responsibility is on him. I had done an interview. I was asked, you know, whose responsibility is all of this fraud? And I said, it's squarely on his shoulders. He's the head of the state. He's got to be the one in charge of making sure that taxpayer dollars are not wasted or sent out in fraud. The other thing that's really disappointing is we can be mad as taxpayers, which we should be, mad that our dollars are being stolen by fraudsters. But when you think of the people that actually needed these services, the actual people that existed for housing and for food and autism services.
Edema fluid isn't harmless fluid pooling in your legs. It can contain deadly pathogens like this one. Here are the top signs to spot toxic edema fluid. One of my colleagues, a top pathologist, has discovered that the edema fluid pooling in your legs is not just harmless water. It's a buildup of toxins and waste. And as this toxic fluid sits trapped in your legs, it transforms into a bacterial soup, like week-old leftovers rotting in a clogged sink. But he's recently gone public to inform any American struggling with edema that they can conquer it for good using his 7-second edema flush you'll learn about in the next minute. See, the fluid that pools in your legs normally transports bacteria from tissues to your lymph nodes, so it can be. This causes the toxic fluid to stay trapped in your legs. It fills them like a stretched water balloon full of infested fluid. Even worse, this leads to deadly infections in the deepest layers of your skin. This is why compression socks and leg elevations can do more harm than good, because they don't actually get rid of the bacterial fluid. They just move the fluid around in your body. And when it comes to water pills and diuretics, they can do more harm than good, because they trigger a hormone in your body that tells your system to hold on to fluid and sodium to compensate for the liquid lost through urine. But Dr. Gyro, a Texas foot specialist out of Houston, recently discovered a 7-second edema flush anyone can do at home that makes legs go from this to this. And no, this has nothing to do with compression stockings, leg elevations, water pills, surgeries, or anything unnatural. It's simple, it's safe, and backed by research from Stanford's prestigious lymphedema clinic, the best of the best. This 7-second edema flush naturally strengthens and unclogs the lymph nodes in your body so it can push, circulate, and flush this stuck fluid out the way nature intended. The best part? This technique helps your body flush out waste more efficiently going forward, which means you don't have to live in fear of the swelling coming back. Since its discovery, Dr. Gyro's helped 54,000 men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond achieve slim, toned legs like they had when they were young. And with it, more confidence, a better love life, and a massive boost to their overall quality of life, even when nothing else works. As the #1 edema solution that can help even the most hopeless cases. Even better, this edema flush fits into your lifestyle, not the other way around. Think about that for a second. Your life no longer needs to revolve around your swelling. You can go back to wearing your favorite shoes and toss the oversized sandals. No more baggy clothes. You can finally take back control of your freedom and mobility. Just do this simple flush in the morning and live your life free from ugly edema swelling. Want to see how? Dr. Gyro has this video that has gone viral since he uploaded it. I dropped the link for you below. Just tap it to check it out. No email required or anything like that. Totally free to see. So if you're ready to finally set yourself free from the relentless grip of edema, if you're ready to experience slim ankles, feet, and legs, wear your favorite shoes and outfits, and glide your hands over smooth, soft skin, then there's a link below to Dr. Gyro's video. Check it out, try it, and watch what happens over the next week. I think you'll not only love what you see in the mirror, but you'll love the freedom and mobility even more. Seriously, this stuff is a game changer.
They weren't getting the services that they needed. And that's the disappointing thing. The most vulnerable amongst us needed help from the state, yet instead it was just going out to the fraudsters. And that is disgraceful.
If you've been living on credit cards just to cover groceries, gas, and bills, you're paying 20% or more to banks when you could call my friends at American Financing. They have mortgage rates in the 5s, and they are showing people every day how to keep more of their hard-earned money and keep it out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save on average home equity to wipe out high-interest debt. With no upfront fee and no obligation and just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. And here's the kicker. If you start today, you could save 2 mortgage payments, putting even more cash in your hands right now. Don't wait. Call American Financing now at 888-686-8030. That's 888-686-8030. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Gardner. Yeah, I agree. I pay a lot in taxes, and I think, man, I don't mind it going to my fellow Americans, seniors, veterans, children. But when I see like illegal immigrants getting more benefits than a senior citizen or a veteran, and they've been here for, 5 minutes, 5 months, something like that, or I see fraud like this, I think that money should have gone to Americans. And that's very disappointing. I don't know if you have any insight on this. Fox News, did a hit over the weekend, basically saying that a couple of different big players involved in this fraud have been connected to donating money to Ilhan Omar, have been connected to helping her with her campaign and getting the word out. I hope that Tim Walz and Ilhan, they weren't looking the other way, hoping no one would discover the fraud because they needed those votes in order to win. But I got to tell you, it doesn't smell good. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm grateful that
your Facebook login might be in the hands of a scammer as we speak. Here's how to check. I ran a quick scan with Guardio, and yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm grateful that everything is being investigated, especially by our federal partners. We need everything investigated to figure out who is doing the fraud, who is involved, at what level, and then make sure that our elections here in the state of Minnesota are going to be safe and secure. Thinking about elections, if I can just share this piece with you, past governors have always said in order to pass an elections bill, that it would have to be bipartisan. So Republicans and Democrats, House and Senate, coming up with a bill together. The governor here in Minnesota, Governor Walz, for the first time in many years, compared to other governors, signed a Democrat-only crafted and voted on elections bill. Part of that included is we don't have voter ID here in Minnesota for elections, but you don't even have to have a permanent address to vote in Minnesota. Really? You can describe where you are, and I'll use the word living, where you are, and then vote in those elections. Take our state back.
Jericho, you still there?
We need secure elections that everyone has confidence that their vote will count and that the right actual Minnesotans are voting. We need that. We need to control our spending here. We need to make sure that our kids can at least read at grade level at a minimum. We used to be known for our educational outcomes. And then we have to end the fraud here in the state of Minnesota. That's what taxpayers expect. There needs to be consequences. If you are fraudulent here in Minnesota, you need to be held accountable, and we need all the checks and balances.
I didn't realize that you guys don't have voter ID, and that you can just like, oh yeah, I just live behind 7-Eleven. I'm in your district. I can. Wow. Okay. Yep. We got a lot to do. We need to get you in. So you're running for governor. Has that been made official or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I announced on November 2nd, and then a week later I announced my running mate. His name is Ryan Wilson, and he ran for state auditor here in Minnesota in 22, and he was as a Republican, the closest statewide vote getter, losing by just over 8,000 votes.
Oh,
he would have been our state auditor. But he's an excellent guy, an attorney background, small business, family. We are a powerhouse ticket. There are a lot of Republicans that have announced right now. We have an endorsement that's the end of May with a primary that in August. But we are the only ticket, including Governor Walz, that have announced a running mate. I am the only candidate. Governor Walz doesn't even have a running mate at this point.
Well, he's too busy covering up fraud.
Yes.
So what just in our final minutes together, what made you're already the speaker, which is just amazing. Did you just see in your career, or did this fraud thing just make you go, okay, we've just got to get conservative values, we've got to bring in new leadership? What made you actually say, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring?
Yeah, more the latter. And so serving in the legislature, I've been in for 7 years, and it's been an honor of a lifetime serving as speaker. Just this year, I was elected into this role in 2025. And when I've watched from the inside, the things that have happened to our state, watching under full Democrat control in the years 23 and 24, and then serving as minority leader then, now as speaker, I know I have much to offer the state of Minnesota to get things back on track. The things that we were known for before, those are lost when it comes to education and our tax dollars and taking care of our communities. And I said that I am the best candidate to win against Governor Walz. And so I'm ready to challenge him. I've won in negotiations this last year, ended the taxpayer-funded health care for illegal. Did that. And then I protected our non-public schools from cuts that were proposed. I also made sure that we had a $5 billion reduction in spending. When I talked about our budget exploding under Democrats, I made sure that we were cutting back that spending and then put in some safeguards for fraud, but we have much more work to do.
Okay.
And that was just with a tie. Let me tell you that, Stephen. I'm Speaker of the House for 2 years as a Republican, but we only have a tie in the House of Representatives. 67 Democrats, 67 Republicans, and I negotiated my way through, ended up with a Republican speaker, a fraud prevention committee, and this is some of the good work that I've been able to do.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. I'm going to just flash your X so that people can see that. But if they want to learn more or support you or financially support you, where can I point them towards?
Yep, lisa4mn.com, and that's LISAFORMN.com.
All right, I'll put a direct link. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
The spotlight now falling on Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Questions popping up about what she knew and when about a massive COVID fraud scheme in her district. Talking billions, could be billions, at least $1 billion, could go higher. Mike Tobin's got more on that now. Mike, good morning to you. What do you have?
Well, good morning, Bill. And as you mentioned, Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been in the crosshairs. She made the statement that there were insufficient guardrails to defrauded programs like Feed the Future. Speaking on Face the Nation, she defended against the fact that all but a handful of the suspects and convicts in this case are from Minnesota's Somali community.
This also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating. The fact that we're also as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Analysts with whom we have been speaking say it's unlikely Omar would not have some exposure to the corruption. She introduced a legislation that created the program that was defrauded to the tune of $250 million. She also held a victory party in 2018 at a restaurant called Safari, owned by Salim Ahmed Saeed, a major player convicted in the scheme.
I think all this will be investigated very thoroughly because there's really a national spotlight on Minnesota and all its problems. I mean, this is a scandal that is by far the biggest in state history.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said on Friday that Somali fraud will prove to be the greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare in U.S. history, and he says we have only begun to scratch the surface of how bad it is.
Perfect. Well done, Jerry. We want to stay in the Christmas maxing on this program. We were Christmas maxing with the Vice President this weekend. Very excited about that. We'll give you a quick update and some very big things coming. Why not? Why not? Let's just pop on over. JD Vance threw a Christmas rager with Sylvester Stallone. We were honored to be there. Got a chance to connect with JD on a ton of very exciting things that lie ahead for our movement, for our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the future looks bright. It was an incredible event. Not much else to say. JD Vance told some pretty hilarious Donald Trump jokes off the top. Do we have those? We'll play them later in the show. Those went viral, and the food was excellent. JD Vance has great taste in catering. There was Rocky. Sylvester Stallone was there. Got a chance to shake his hand and a chance to eat some Rocky cookies that they had. It was an awesome night. It is our honor to bring you along with us through this glorious Christmas season, Monday, December 8th, 2025. Somali illegal migrant fraudster photographed with Ilhan Omar, Tim Waltz of Minnesota, arrested by ICE as all of the Minnesota fraud unravels. And speak of unraveling, Ukraine is in a state of total and complete collapse. I'm going to cover that off the top because we just thought that fraud and frauds would be a good subject matter and topic for this program, since there's a lot of that going on right now. Chairman Jim Jordan will be joining the show. There's also a critical election for the Miami mayoral race. So Emilio Gonzalez, who's running for that very important mayoral office, will be joining us. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We have some very...
A lot of the economic numbers look really good. So why do many Americans feel so bad about the economy? Plus, another terrible crime story out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Some very non-Christmassy news for you. Just a statement that I feel like I have to make right now. I want to pop up another mugshot, one of many, of a man whose name is Andrew Ayar. This individual was arrested for violent, stalking, direct threats of murder and violence against influencers and podcasters. The man showed up at my home, where my wife and children live, ranting and raving about me. My wife had to barricade herself in our house as door, knocking on my neighbor's doors, asking where I was. It looked like he was armed. And as he terrorized the neighborhood, I was at work, I was here at the studio, I left immediately. He fled before the cops got there. I don't know what this was. I know there are multiple other pending criminal cases for people threatening to kill us, to kill my family, to widow my wife, orphan my children. This is one of many. He showed up at Cat Turd's house. You might know Cat Turd. He is a big-time influencer on X. Had direct threats that he was going to find Matt Walsh, his wife, and his children and murder all of them. He's going to go to Laura Loomer's house. He said this directly to the authorities. And thank God, I just want to say, for the FBI and the DOJ. Let's talk about God for a second. We wear the full armor of God at this program. And so we don't fear, as the author of Life and Death, something that I've had to come to the reality with over the past year, watching my president get shot in the head. The full security protection of the Secret Service, as diminished as they were, Charlie Kirk, my friend, get killed. And firm believer in the laws of the or destroyed, equal and opposite reaction, Newtonian physics and so on. And with Charlie's death came a release of very good and positive people and attendance and belief in God. There's also a release of darkness. This I do not understand. I don't know where it comes from, but it is ripping our movement apart. People attacking a widow, people desecrating this man and trying to destroy his legacy. Charlie, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It is evil. It's demonic. And it's important for Christians to speak out against it. And I've become sick over the fact that there has been so much tearing at our movement from the inside, from the outside. Unity, that unity that Charlie brought, that won us this election. That's why I have the map behind us. Probably never come down in the studio. But there is evil. And I'm sure you can feel it. Always going to happen. Fight on behalf of my family. I'm not going to allow my family to be threatened. Physically attacked. I am also going to continue as a crusader for truth. Fight as hard as we possibly can. Half the values that Charlie stood for. And as somebody who worked closely with him, all I can say is that guy talked about what he wanted his true legacy to be. Way more than any 20-year-old or 30-year-old ever should have. We have those clips, and they're clear as day. I want to be remembered for the advancement of the kingdom of Christ. That's what Charlie said again and again and again. Because that's really at the core of all of this. So no, we don't fear death. No, we don't fear the attacks. It's part of the business, quite frankly. Easy to ignore or smack down. One thing that we do fear is being on the wrong side of God. And so that is why every single day before this show, we put on the full armor of God, say a prayer with my pastor, our verse of the day, and we shield ourselves, especially in this time of Christmas, from the darkness that seems to be running wild right now. So I pray that for you as well, that you are not demoralized, that you are uplifted, that you feel protected in this holy season. Obviously a time that the evil one who wants to steal, kill, and destroy would like to do that to you. To those people who are continuing to go for these values that we hold dear. Not going to quit. So once again, just pop up the mugshot. It's just one of many. One of many.
LIBTARD out there.
Real out there. And so I just say enough. Like enough. This versus light. Good versus evil. Light will win. Shine even brighter. In the end, we win, ladies and gentlemen. So, carrying forward into the show, just a reminder that this is what we're fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen. The power and energy to fight, as you know, and we talk about virtually every single show in our brand new Benny Brigade mug, Blackout Coffee. The American dream has been built on caffeine, has been built on men who want to fight communists, need the energy to do so. Blackout ensures that we are ready to rock in the morning. Been up since early morning. Not sure exactly how many cups I've had today. But ladies and gentlemen, it is great coffee. It tastes like real coffee. Hard work and American values are what built this company and every good company. Same with Blackout. The backbone of Blackout coffee is just great coffee that tastes like coffee. You should get some today for those long Christmas mornings with the family. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Support the American dream and drink Blackout. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Stop settling and start drinking real coffee. All right. So I promised you a JD Vance joke that did go viral off our page this weekend. And so here it is. JD Vance telling his story off the top, and then we'll move off from Christmas content here into content of mass fraud and nation collapse. It's a great Christmas topic for us. Here is JD Vance, ladies and gentlemen, telling a hysterical Donald Trump story in a way that only he could. Let's go.
I want to talk about Sly and all his great accomplishments and why we're gathered here to celebrate him. But I want to first say, people often ask me what it's like to be the Vice President of the United States. And a lot of it is exactly what you would expect it to look like if you watched on TV or just paid attention to the media. But sometimes you get these behind-the-scenes moments that I will never, ever forget for the rest of my life. So, for example, today I'm in the Oval Office with the President of the United States and our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and we're talking about something really, really important. And the President kind of holds up his hand and says, no, hold on a second. There's something much more important. Shoes. And he peers over the Resolute desk and he says, Marco, JD, you guys have shitty shoes. We gotta get you better shoes. So he goes out and grabs a catalog. There happens to be another politician in the room. I won't say who, and you'll find out why in a second. And he actually runs us through this incredible shoe catalog. And by the way, the President is gifting us with 4 pairs of shoes. And I think 4 pairs for Marco. And he's actually asking our size in the middle of this conversation. He's asking for our size so that he can make sure that we get the right shoes. And he asked this other politician, he said, I'm going to get you some shoes too. And so he says, Marco, what's your shoe size? And Marco's apparently an 11.5. He says, JD, what's your shoe size? My shoe size is 13. And he asked this politician, who I won't embarrass, what his shoe size is, and he says 7. He kind of leans back in his chair and says, you can tell a lot about a man by his shoe size.
The entire internet asked, who was the politician with the size 7 shoe? Was it Mike Johnson? Was it Lindsey Graham? We know in the chat. Also in the chat, are you going to be sad when Zelensky resigns? This is our first story at the top of the hour today. Zelensky has been turned on by the corporate media. Zelensky is a state of total and complete collapse and potential resignation. I mean, that's what many people are speculating from inside of Ukraine. Let's cover all of the reporting here from the New York Times and the Associated Press. Which are, by the way, the propaganda channels for Zelensky. There is no more stable organ inside of the corporate media for the wholesale spending and pushing a further war in Ukraine than the New York Times. The New York Times was the key agitation and salespeople for the destruction of Ukraine. And by the way, if you look at the population charts, they really have destroyed that country. They've destroyed it. Okay. And the archive up right now. So the New York Times here in this article, it's a very long article, it's 4,000 words, but it goes into how Zelensky has been proven to be a fraudster. Now, this is not going to come as a surprise to you. Obviously, we're sending billions over there. How did we ensure that our money was going to be well spent? Well, Zelensky was supposed to institute independent boards in order to ensure that the single most corrupt country in the world wasn't looting and profiting from the dollars that were meant to keep their young men from dying. Well, all their young men are dead. Again, hey, Alex, would you mind searching for that, or Jack or Danny? Can you find that population chart for Ukraine? You find that chart that shows just the complete and total decimation. When I say the Ukrainian people are done for a generation, I mean, it's making me very sad. It's like the most cripplingly sad thing I will probably ever show you on this show. It's the complete and total gutting of Ukrainians that are of childbearing age that would go off and fight in a war. They're gone. They're just gone. You can see it in the line chart of age demographic breakdown. They've vanished because of this war. It's terrible. When I say the Ukrainian people are over, I mean, that's what I mean. But also Zelensky may be over. Again, many people saying he's going to resign after this because first, he's lost his chief of staff, Andrei Yermak. Andrei Yermak is the right-hand man to Zelensky. He was forced to resign. Forces, they went and raided his home, his office, his government building, and they took everything. Tucker Carlson says that Andrei Yermak has committed $100 million worth of fraud at least. For that prediction, after Tucker tweeting that, the dude got raided like 4 days later. Who knows, man? And then here, they're starting to now circle the wagons and say, with Zelensky's government going down one by one. I mean, there's 70 members of his party, by the way, that were also raided in this. That gets sort of caught in the lines. 70 members of his party are implicated now in the fraud scheme, Zelensky running a criminal enterprise, now provable. Let's read really quickly here from the New York Times. When the Russian troops invaded Ukraine, Western allies faced a dilemma. How do you spend billions without seeing the money vanish into the pocket of corrupt managers? The stakes were very high in Ukraine's vital wartime industries, power distribution, weapons purchase, nuclear energy. They were all controlled by state-owned companies. The country's elite could plunder the money. So this is why Western allies and European nations insisted on oversight. They required Ukraine to allow spending. Of course, those boards were never established, allowing graft to flourish. President Volodymyr Zelensky's administration stacked boards with loyalists, left seats empty, or stalled them from being set up at all. Leaders in Kyiv even rewrote company charters to limit oversight, keeping the government in control, allowing hundreds of millions of dollars to be spent without outsiders poking around. Supervisory boards serve as an essential oversight function, allowing independent experts, typically from countries, to scrutinize major decisions. So now, it's wild, there are multiple named companies, like the nuclear power company here, that is accused of siphoning off at least $100 million from the state-owned nuclear power company, Euratom. Name of the company. $100 million for just one company. Multiply that across multiple state-owned organs and the entire government itself, and all the weapons and R&D and procurement, and we have billions of dollars, as we have expected for a very long time, of fraud and waste and theft. Documents and interviews with about 20 Western and Ukrainian officials who have worked closely with company boards and served with them. The Times found political interference not only at Euratom, but also state-owned electricity companies, Ukrengro, as well as Ukraine's defense procurement agency, and some people spoke on the condition of anonymity, discussed confidential deliberations. An advisor to Zelensky declined to comment. Supervisory boards were not the president's responsibility. Okay. You can see here is, as you scroll through the article, a thorough breakdown in the New York Times of exactly how the fraud worked. We don't have time to read all of it right now, but let's just say this is a demonstrable report, and we hear little birdies tell us that this is just one of many. When they've decided that Zelensky needed outside pressure to end the war, when they decided that Zelensky is no longer their man, when they decided that the corruption, the graft, has clearly stopped trickling back to the people who are getting paid, they were always going to do this to Zelensky. Zelensky was always going to go the way of Gaddafi. And that's what's happening right here. This is why the New York Times, effectively the wall of protection for Zelensky, has now cracked and cratered. Here's the AP, ladies and gentlemen. This is really bad news when it is the corporate media that has decided to turn on the Ukrainian thieves that they have enabled. Zelensky's chief of staff resigns after anti-corruption investigators search his home, raid his home. Many are saying here, speculating, Zelensky ordered to resign, forced out in handcuffs if he refuses. Ukrainian members of parliament, Artem Duterik, dropped a political bombshell, saying effectively that he has been ordered to resign by the powers that be. Senior officials have been dismissed, replacements blocked, parliament paralyzed, budget unable to pass, Western support collapsing, and the final blow, Washington has officially accused Zelensky regime of stealing U.S. taxpayer dollars. This was, of course, happening in the open. They knew about this the entire time. They just allowed it to continue because they're bloodthirsty monsters. I don't know exactly. You know, the stance of this program is that we are against forever war. We are against forever wars that we are fighting in, that other nations are fighting in. They decimate the populations. I don't know if we have the population graphs or not, but you can see that, like, Ukraine, it wasn't this when I was looking at the, you know, I was looking at sort of the hourglass. There it is. I think so. Yeah. Impact of the war on Ukraine's population structure. Gray showing losses of population. Goodness gracious, look at that. So you're seeing just a complete and total collapse of young people. Just decimated an entire, like huge percentages, third, fourth of childbearing populations. It has been devastating. It's evil. Don Jr. and Donald Trump both speaking out. There's a good one. That's the one that I was looking for. Look at that. Goodness gracious. Look at the dip. You should see it should be a Christmas tree structure. Because up at the top you have older people. Then down at the bottom you should have all the younger people that are there to support the older people as the older people pass on. And look at there. the hourglass shape showing the loss age years. That is devastating for a population. Don Jr. saying it's over. I've personally witnessed all the corruption in Ukraine. Check this out.
One of the most amazing things I got to witness, I was this summer with my beautiful girlfriend Bettina in Monaco, and we were driving around, and on an average day, 50% of the supercars, the Bugattis, the Ferraris, the this, all had Ukrainian plates. Do we think that was actually earned in Ukraine? I'd been to Ukraine 20 years ago. It wasn't like there was a plethora of wealth there. And yet you see all the rumors about what's going on. When I see every license plate on a supercar in Monaco being Bugattis, the rich fled. They let what they believed to be the peasant class fight these wars. And there was no incentive to stop, because as long as the money train was coming and they were stealing it and no one was auditing anything, the leaders, the decision makers, there was no reason for them to ever come to peace. No different than Putin. It wasn't the son of oligarchs that were fighting these wars. It's someone from Siberia that they're sending there. And he utilized the war to rebuild his manufacturing base. It was very clear that the sanctions that we put on did nothing to actually help. All it did was jack up the price of oil, which allowed him to basically pay for the war with the delta between the two while building up his manufacturing base. There was no incentive for anyone to ever get to the table. Zelensky knew he wouldn't win another election again, and they were continuing to steal. Putin was building up his manufacturing base, and all we had in the wake was millions of young men dying for nothing.
Dying for nothing. Have we had enough of that? Have we had enough of that evil? Like, as a Christian, are you just against that evil? Can't you, like, killing is against our religion? So many people trying to use political violence in order to get their ends, either with war or assassination culture. So can we, like, draw a line and say we're important and imperative when it comes to these forever wars, because it just, as we can show you in the graph, it just literally decimates entire peoples and nations. This is what happened, of course, through the last century. World War I, World War II, people are like, where did all the white population go in nations? And the white population was about 36% of the world's population at the turn of the century. Now it's dwindled down to about 8%. What happened there? Well, there's a lot, obviously. Abortion, birth control pill, westernized, egalitarian societies that do not promote or encourage parenthood, having children. But I would argue that a huge portion of that population collapse were world wars that took millions and millions and millions of childbearing aged people in the primes of their lives and slaughtered them all. That's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're against it. We've been against this war. We're not pro-Russia. We're not pro-Ukraine. We are pro-America. And the best American outcome to this war is that we stop funding it entirely and this killing stops. This is what President Trump said yesterday. He said he's very disappointed in Zelensky. You can see all of the forces turning against Zelensky. Here we go.
About Ukraine talks. What's your next step in Russia-Ukraine talks after last week's negotiations?
So we've been speaking to President Putin, and we've been speaking to Ukrainian leaders, including Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that President Zelensky hasn't yet read the proposal. That was as of a few hours ago. His people love it, but Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it, but I'm not sure that Zelensky is fine with it. His people love it, but he hasn't read it. So someday you'll explain that one to me, Jeff.
I don't have an explanation, sir.
Trump pissed. Trump's pissed. Have you tried saying thank you? Ladies and gentlemen, it is not going to end well for Zelensky. I'm just predicting that right now. I'm also predicting that you need Chef IQ for your Christmas cooking. Obviously, you are going to be making a Christmas turkey, a Christmas ham. We do a prime rib roast. These are tough roasts to get. These are tough cuts of meat. Prime rib roast, like 14 pounds. How do you tell whether it's done or not? Chef IQ is a wireless thermometer one of those annoying wires that are actually not that accurate, that come in and out of your oven. The wireless thermometer is the single most accurate tell of temperature, and that's the only way actually to make sure that that cut of steak, chicken, turkey, that big bird, or that big roast is done perfectly. You have to get the internal temperature. It's a perfect gift for the dads in your life. Chef IQ Sense, the wireless cooking thermometer, is now available for 30% off during their Black Friday sale. This is an excellent product. I'm telling you, I use it when I'm home doing the full prime rib roast. I will take a photo and show everyone. It's so awesome to have these wireless thermometers. You can make sure that you can cook. I have 4 different ones that come in the pack that I have, and you can make sure that you are cooking on all fronts, making a feast like I intend to on Christmas Day. Get all of your shopping done and make the holiday the best yet with Chef IQ's Black Friday sale. Again, 30% off. Chef IQ, use promo code Benny for 30% off. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a concurrent unraveling fraud scandal from a nation that is known for fraud in Somalia. We are now finding that let's just say the snare is tightening for Ilhan Omar. Needs to be caught closer and closer as you start to peel the onion layer back. The fraud, including a Somali illegal migrant fraudster, photographed with her, worked on her campaign, now been arrested by ICE since he had a removal order against him since 2004. Kind of interesting when you check out Ilhan Omar's net worth. It really does beg a question like, what exactly is going on here? She arrived in America with zero wealth. Remember, she is an impoverished migrant, yet even though she entered Congress with negative wealth, she has now ballooned her net worth in just 5 short years to $30 million. So from negative wealth to $30 million. Remarkable. How exactly did that happen? You can see here the photos of the fraudster with various members of the Democrat Party in Minnesota, including Ilhan Omar, as you can also see him campaigning for Ilhan Omar. Beg the question, how much did she know about this? Again, we have a whistleblower that has come, it's not like a whistleblower, but it's somebody with inside information that says they have, like DHS has dead to rights, that Ilhan Omar did commit multiple immigration frauds in order to bring her family over here in chain migration, did marry her brother, that they do have the documentation. President Trump very strategic on when he drops these kind of things. Will they ever drop these kind of things? I'm not exactly sure. Here's the update on Democrat Somali fraud.
All right. Well, here's the level of fraud investigators are finding in Minnesota is growing by the day. Kelly Loeffler, who leads the Small Business Administration, says in the 2 days her agency has been investigating the state, they've uncovered at least $1 million in PPP fraud just 2 days in. Several of the whistleblowers in Minnesota have also told lawmakers they believe the total amount of fraud could total up to more than $8 billion. Governor Tim Walz, who is up for re-election, is under fire for all of this happening under his watch. But he says they have paused these programs. They've brought in outside auditors to get an idea of how far-reaching this fraud was. They're taking steps to keep it from happening again. And he's defending his management of the state while also taking shots at Republicans and the president.
And in spite of the headwinds we're up against, economic growth, happiness, number of people insured, education levels near the very top. So I'll tell you what, I have no interest in having this state look like Oklahoma or Mississippi. And if folks are going to commit crimes here, thinking because our generous spirit and our programs that we have is going to give them some kind of cover, they are sadly mistaken.
Yeah, Minnesota is also now home to the single largest pandemic fraud scheme in the country. And Republicans argue that Walz and other Democrats opened the door to this by offering such generous social welfare benefits without any real protections against fraud, and then ignored warnings about that fraud because they didn't want to lose the support of the Somali community.
The whistleblowers that I've spoken to are saying that the governor knew and the governor and lieutenant governor and even Chris Schmitter, who was his chief of staff, came to them as staff and scolded them for pointing out fraud.
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar told CNN this week she believes the fraud spiraled out of control because COVID programs were rolled out without sufficient guardrails. It's also worth noting the owner of the restaurant where Omar held her 2018 victory party is among those from the Somali community who have been convicted of profiting from the schemes.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us from the Great White North, exactly as north as Minnesota, but Ohio, part of the Midwest, whose name is being muddied right now and being lied on by the state of Minnesota, the great Jim Jordan. To sound off. Let's go.
Jim Jordan.
Chairman, thank you so much for being on the program. I don't like the Midwest getting this rep. We are not fraudsters in the Midwest. Where I come from, you like leave your jacket or like leave your phone or leave your laptop in a restaurant. Like you can come back that night and you'll still be there.
Yeah, exactly. Ohio's not Minnesota. So look, when you're talking about potentially billions of dollars, I really appreciate the fact that Chairman Comer and the Oversight Committee and committee I happen to be a part of, that we're going to look into this and see what we can find. But this is starting, as we just saw, as you just played, this is starting to add up to like, wow, this is real. I think a couple of problems. One, when you throw this much money out there, the potential for fraud is real. I mean, this is what the Biden administration did, just kept sending money out with these COVID programs. And then two, it looks like, based on what we've seen so far, that the governor and his team, they really didn't want to dig into this. Were there political concerns, political reasons why they didn't want to, pay no attention to what you see behind the curtain, nothing going on there, that they took that at?
What is Ilhan Omar's potential tie-up with all of this? She has great connections and what seems to be large structural connections to some of the fraud organizations, the Feed the Children group, some of these restaurants that were overcharging PPP. There's also an enormous amount of Medicaid fraud that has just been charged with the DOJ. What do you think will happen with Ilhan Omar? She's out right now saying that effectively Somalis are the victims here and doing her best to lie on this issue.
I mean, we'll find out. I mean, that's why you do investigations, is to get to the truth. There's all kinds of things swirling out there right now, but we'll dig in there and we'll get to the truth, and then we'll see what the Justice Department does, if anything here. But I do think it was interesting that graph you put up. I think it was, I don't know if you tweeted or someone tweeted it, where it showed her net worth over the last, just looks like the last 6, 7, 8 years increased dramatically. I don't know how that happens. And if that's accurate, that is certainly a concern. I just don't, I don't know how accurate that is, but if it is accurate, I think that's something you got to look into as well.
Are you in favor of banning stock trading for members of Congress?
I don't trade stocks personally, so I've not weighed in on it. But if that bill comes up, I would support it.
Would you be in favor of Congress passing? I mean, because this has been like a major question. Somali populations into such tight bubbles in American cities to like change them inextricably and forever. And this happened in Ohio with Haitian populations. Obviously, this was a big problem leading up to the election. How does Congress like make rules to try and prevent that? What is sort of the approach right now with the Republicans in the House towards immigration reform?
Well, I think you got to look at it as far as the national policy immigration reform. You know, we had the bill last Congress, which reformed how our asylum law works, a better standard than just this defining credible fear in an appropriate way. We dealt with the Flores decision. We dealt with border security. Of course, this Congress, President Trump, and the work that we have done in the big, beautiful bill, the border is now secure. I mean, it largely was secure with President Trump in his first 3-4 months in office. And then we allocated resources so that there are the resources there to make sure the border stays secure. So we're Congress's national policy. I don't think you want to get into specific policy about where people can live, where they can settle. I think that is a local concern. Our job is to make sure our immigration laws are done right. We fixed some of the various visas we have. We have all these visas. I think there's some work that we can still do there. But right now, of course, the main thrust of last year's election, main issue was securing the border, and that has been done. I think that's a huge compliment to President Trump. in his ability to do what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I see this one member at a time, and now there's rumors that there's going to be a bunch of other retirements that may put into threat. What's actually going to happen? You're in a lot of these meetings. You're very close with leadership. Is this actually going to happen? I mean,
No.
Punch Bowl's out saying there's going to be 20 resignations.
No, that's not going to happen. Look, we've had a couple. We just had a big win last week. Matt Van Epps, great candidate. I actually supported early on in the primary, 10-way primary. We endorsed him early. Great guy, West Point grad, helicopter pilot, kind of guy you want coming into Congress and carrying out the agenda that the American people elected President Trump and us to do. So I think we'll be fine. Now, the midterms are always tough. Everyone knows this. When you're the party in power in the White House, midterms elections are typically difficult for that party. But I think we can prevail for a number of reasons. One is the big, beautiful bill will start to take effect. I mean, the tax cuts and the regulatory reform, all the good things we did in there, I think people are going to start feeling that the component in the tax code that encourages school choice, empowering moms and dads to send their kid to the best school, the school that they think is going to give them the best education, that is all good. I think second is just the idea that, remember, not all Democrats are crazy, but the left that controls their party is. They still have all these crazy positions on issues. You know, they want to defund the police. They want to have an open border. They want men to compete against women in sports, and on you can go. So I think you can still point out we're the party of common sense. They're the party of crazy. We have good candidates like Matt Van Epps. The big, beautiful bill kicks in. And then finally, I think what helps us in these upcoming midterms is President Trump. His energy, his ability to go to key districts, to turn out the vote, to do the telephone town halls, just like he did for Matt last week in that race in Tennessee. I think that's the thing that will allow us to sort of defy history and maintain the majority in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, as chairman, you obviously are somebody who has been driving for oversight and transparency for now the better part of decades. I'm not sure how successful DC has been of coughing up its secrets, but there is something that broke just last week that, well, shocked, I guess, the world. The January 6th pipe bomber, something that we've talked about pretty extensively on this show, something that sort of broke a lot of people's ideas about what was potentially going on here. Seems very confusing. It seems like the information is getting muddled. The media's out saying he was a Trump supporter. His family's out saying he wasn't. What's going on here? What was your initial reaction here to Brian Cole?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is just good old-fashioned police work, and that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and this Justice Department actually did their job and found and told us who this individual is. You know, all during the Biden administration, I used to say it sort of half joking, but there was, you know, like in any good humor, there's some truth behind it. It was like, who planted the pipe bomb, who leaked the draft opinion on the Dobbs decision, and who put cocaine at the White House. And the Biden administration could never give us answers to any of those questions. Well, here we have the Trump administration, the Bondi and Patel. Now what? You know, almost 5 years ago. So this, I think, is the big. That to me is the key takeaway. We'll find out all the details about this individual, why he did this terrible thing. But I think the real takeaway is Kash Patel and his team were able to do good old-fashioned work, the kind of work the FBI is supposed to do, and find this guy, versus the kind of thing we saw with, you know, Director Wray and the Garland Justice Department, which was the weaponization of the Justice Department against we the people.
How could they have missed this guy?
I don't know. We've been looking at this. We've been asking questions after question, asking for information. But Wray, I mean, the one thing you can sort of take away from Chris Wray is he never really gave us all the information that we should have received, as evidenced by all the things we're now getting from Director Patel. I will look at the Catholic memorandum in the Richmond field office where they said pro-life Catholics are extremists in this memo. We asked for all the information, and Director Wray said, "Oh, you've got it all." Well, Kash Patel gets in there, Director Patel gets in there, and we get all kinds of additional information that contradicts things Wray told us, like that it was an isolated incident in this just one Richmond field office, when in fact it was in multiple field offices around the country. So that to me was, again, another key takeaway, is just night and day compared to Wray and Garland versus what we now have in Director Patel and Attorney General Bondi.
You're bringing in Jack Smith for a deposition, right? Yeah. You're putting him under
deputies. One of them we actually referred for criminal indictment to the Justice Department because we felt he was totally obstructing our investigation. So we're going to bring Mr. Smith in. We've received a number of communications and documents that are important before you bring him in for a deposition. So we're looking forward to that. I think one of the key questions is, why did you wait until the Speaker of the House, Speaker McCarthy, became Speaker before you went back and subpoenaed his information? I mean, what was that all about? They got 2 months of his call records. Who he called, who called him, when the call took place, how long the call lasted. And if Speaker McCarthy initiated the call, they knew where he was located when he did so. Well, you can track and pattern an individual's life over a 2 month. They did it for me for 2.5 years, for goodness sake. So I think that's a line of question. Why all these members of Congress is you go get their call logs and text message data, not the actual message, but when those messages took place and who they were texting. Why did you go get that? And again, for the Speaker, they did it after he became Speaker, and this was supposed to be about January 6th, which was 3 years prior, for goodness sake. So I think there's a number of questions we have for Mr. Smith. We'll have him in a deposition now in 10 days, and we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, Merry Christmas, Mr. Jack Smith. So let it snow. Chairman Jordan, you mentioned the cocaine at the White House. You've made some news on our program talking about this issue. Are we ever going to find anything about who left the cocaine at the White House? Is that case completely dead? Is the FBI have any evidence there? Does the Secret Service has any evidence? Apparently it was at an FBI lab in Quantico. The cocaine samples, are they gone?
I don't know. We've been as we talked about, we've been focused on Mr. Smith and this investigation and looking into his deputies and everyone else. We can double check on that, but it's been a while since we've inquired. I just remember saying that last Congress, like, why don't we know anything about that? And frankly, the Dobbs decision as well. Remember that led, because of that leak, we had an assassination attempt on one of our Supreme Court justices, Justice Kavanaugh, and the amount of security that the Supreme Court had to have in the aftermath of that. Who leaked that? That has never happened. It's not supposed to happen. So you would think we would know. You would think we would know who put cocaine at the White House too. I think you and I have an idea who it might have been, but maybe we'll never know. We'll see.
Still nothing. Just in closing here, there was a little bit of a brouhaha between Elise Stefanik and Mike Johnson about some legislation that would prevent spying from our intel agencies on presidential candidates. Could you please explain what happened there? And 2 ships passing the night. What was that about? What was the result? It seems like the result was satisfactory to Elise.
Yeah, well, no, this is good. This is good legislation. This is a good proposal that is going to stay in the bill. I supported it 100%. Particularly, you think about all the weaponization we've uncovered and what we've been focused on stopping. And frankly, as I said, what happened to me and others when the Justice Department goes and gets your phone logs, for goodness sake. Stay in. I think there was some confusion with what Mr. Raskin wanted, which shouldn't frankly have carried much weight at all. This should stay in, and it looks like it's going to stay in. So I appreciate Lisa's work on this now for a long time, and of course the Speaker's willingness to make sure it stays in the National Defense Authorization legislation, which is a big bill that's slated to pass later this week.
We hope it does. We really like that legislation, and we're just like with the FISA reform, it gets very frustrating when Republicans can't just deliver on these critical issues that we talk a lot about, but nothing.
Benny, that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, because that comes up for reauthorization, the FISA 702 program in April. So we're having a hearing on it in 2 days in one of our subcommittees. This is really important, and the key provision here is, if the government's going to search this database of information, this what I call this giant haystack of information, we believe they should go to a court, go to a separate and equal branch of government, and get a probable cause warrant to search your information. They're going to use Benny Johnson's name, phone number, or email address to search this database. They need to go get a warrant. And so we lost that legislation 212 to 212, tie vote in the House 2 years ago. This is important that we get this passed as part of the reauthorization. So we're already starting to work on that. But it fits in with what Elise was doing here. And this idea, you got to tell people if you're going to go investigate. It can't be some secret investigation you're doing into President Trump, like we saw with the whole dossier,
and using that as the basis to go to the FISA court and get a warrant, and all the crazy stuff they did. So it's all part of that. But this issue is going to be, I think, in the news as we move into the new year. And so we're starting a hearing, like I said, this Wednesday.
So FISA reform will finally pass, because I remember Mike Johnson being the key vote that voted actually against the reform, and it failed. So you're saying that this is going to hold this time?
I hope so, and that's what we're working on. We're already starting to work with the Intelligence Committee in the House to see if there's a way we can get this in the base bill that has to be reauthorized come April.
Okay, guys, we have one more.
Bill that has to be reauthorized come April.
Okay, all right. Well, John Ratcliffe of the CIA, I'm sure will be speaking plenty with him about this. We hope that both of these things happen. This is why people elected Republicans, why people elect Jim Jordan from the great state of Ohio, nearly 7 million subscribers here on X. You should be one of them. A subscriber to our show wanted us to ask you in closing, who is going to win the Chairman Jordan?
It looks like it'll be Penn State again, but Ohio State's tough. And I don't know if you happen to watch that match. I know you're a big Iowa wrestling fan, but Iowa State duel a week. Great day. It was a big snowstorm, and they still brought in like 10,000 crazy fans there in Ames and watched at Hilton Coliseum and watched a great match. So I think, but there's a number of good teams. Nebraska's good, of course. Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and of course Iowa University is always good.
You gonna be there this year with the president?
We're planning on it. It's in Cleveland this year, so we're looking at that. Yeah, getting the boys and some of my buddies all together. We're thinking about going, and I don't know, maybe the president will want to go again. It was such a big hit last year in that heavyweight match. We'll see what the president wants to do.
Huge hit. We'll see. All right, thank you, Chairman Jordan. Godspeed. Merry Christmas. Zorhan Mandami, communist, gonna commie. But he thought that maybe he'd go based because he met with Trump. No, baby. No. We'll get to that in just 1 second. 120 Life. You want to save your life. You may want to get out of New York. We'll be traveling again this week. We have an event with the New York Young Republicans Club. And so we will have to be in Zorhan Mandami's city. All the more reason to drink our 120 Life to stay as healthy as possible. It is going to get bad. It's going to turn into Gotham all over again. Keep your health up, no matter where you live. High blood pressure is a real killer. It's something, obviously, that we have on this show as we watch some of the evil forces trying to tear our movement apart. Keep your blood pressure down. Boy, let me tell you what, 1 in 2 Americans, 50% of Americans have high blood pressure. This is something that is very bad. There are some incredible ingredients blended together in this drink that can lower that blood pressure naturally, and it is guaranteed, or your money back. And this is why thousands of health professionals and doctors recommend 120 Life to their patients. It is also delicious. This holiday season, our listeners can get 20% off their entire order at 120life.com, code Benny. 120life.com, code Benny. Go to 120life.com, use my code Benny for 20% off. Right, risk-free for 2 weeks. If you don't see your blood pressure come down, you'll get a free refund. Come on. It's the time of year. You probably need this. Zorhan Mandami is out with communist policies. First policy that made me extremely sad was that he's not going to be clearing homeless encampments any longer. That is a real problem in big cities. And it is a problem because it is Windows theory. We were going to have Rudy Giuliani on the show, but we had a really bad technical difficulty, and so we can't have it. But Rudy Giuliani is the guy who brought forward on a national level and popularized the broken windows theory. And that says if you have a neighborhood where homes are allowed to effectively go vacant or turn into drug houses that have broken windows, that signals to criminals and the criminal element that it's fair game. You can just break every window in the neighborhood. You can commit any crime you want in the neighborhood. You can just run wild. You have to keep the windows, plate glass from shattering, the homes from collapsing, the streets from becoming in ill repair, the bridges from not falling in on themselves. You have to be able to do this in order to keep up the esprit de corps of your city, in order to signal to the world that this is a functional city. If things begin to turn to ruin, well, then ruinous agents in our society, which are homeless, deegans, degenerates, violent criminals, will take over. And that's what you've seen, obviously, in New York. A couple of high-profile cases like Daniel Penny. And that's what you've seen, obviously, in some other sunken places like Kensington, Philadelphia. The single saddest place I've ever been in my life is Kensington. Or a poor example of the human condition. And a bunch of people like sitting around looking like zombies, waiting to die. Open sores, open wounds, fentanyl, just fent off their asses, out of their minds, sitting there like zombies. Oh, it's critical. For me to see that, this is why I'm totally in favor of them yeeting the drug boats. Because that's chemical warfare. They're engaging in warfare in our country. You study fentanyl, what it is. Fentanyl is a mix of 19 different chemicals. It has to be done in a laboratory environment. It is a chemical weapon. I'm also not in favor of marijuana dispensaries on every corner. I don't want that. Like, that's a plant that grows. Okay, I'm not making excuses for it. I want my kids to be potheads. You shouldn't want your kids to be potheads. But it's something totally different when it's a pill that is created in a laboratory that is a chemical weapon, effectively, against your population. This is what the streets of Kensington look like. It is so depressing. This is why, of course, you can't have this, because somebody sees one zombie, literally call them zombies when you're there. They see one zombie, and that inspires more people to come and use fentanyl, and more people and more people. You have to shut it down. You have to clean it out. Zoran Madami saying in America's greatest city, maybe some people will be angry at me saying that, in a great American city, New York City, the Empire City, one of the most iconoclast American city when it comes to landmarks and movies and so on, that it's just going to be littered homeless encampments now. Mandami decision to end Adams' administration of homeless encampment sweeps will cause quality of life nightmare. Things will, like this happened in Washington, D.C., where every public park became a homeless shelter. Every public park became a place where people were pissing on themselves, using drugs, like walking around with broken-ended glass bottles, threatening mothers, children, just open degeneracy. What did it do? It drives out population that is productive.
Yes,
you are benefiting the parasitic population. It's the, like, it's the question that you should ask yourself. I know I'm going off on this topic, but it's one that I really care about. Because it's about like the uplifting of the human spirit or the destruction of the human spirit. When you walk by these shelters, when you walk by these massive encampments that are in public parks, what that is saying is that your city has decided to back the parasitic population of sunken, demonically possessed, broken people. And you look at it, some of it, it's a spiritual battle that a lot of these people are fighting. I mean, it's dark, it's spiritual. You go to the Kensington, man, you go to that energy. You go down to some of these larger homeless encampments, you'll see it's spirit. I mean, these people will like straight up attack you, come here to, you do something that offends them, or you just walk by, or you look at them the wrong way, they're there to kill you. Mm-hmm. What this signals to the population of any city is that the city chooses them over you. It's the you. Well, the you are the mother and child, father, who are here to make a city work. if you don't have any more population, as we covered with Ukraine, if you don't have any more population, well, your city is going to collapse. The easiest way to see which cities are which cities are doing well and which cities are not, is not P&Ls. It's not debt ratios. It's not GDP even. It's what percentage of change has there been in 5-year-olds going to preschool. Your city is not growing with children going to school, then your city is about to die. And we've put up the chart before, but as you can see pretty obviously, the cities that are dying across the nation, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Philadelphia, this is going to come as no shock to you. They're all blue cities where the percentage of 5-year-olds in preschool have collapsed. Why? Because those cities have made themselves unsafe for parents who raise their children in it. And I don't care how left-wing you are, it's bred in your bone, it's in your... When you have a child, you're going to protect them and you're not going to march them through homeless encampments. You're not going to put them in unsafe environments, no matter who you are or how you vote. So this is... You get civilizational collapse. This is how you get collapse in these cities. And Zorhan Mandami out with one of his first policies saying we are going to promote not the family, not the mother, not the innocent child. We're not going to protect the parks for them. The parks and public spaces and play places, they are going to be for the piss-soaked degenerates, parasites. That is incredibly sad. Zorhan Mandami also is giving advice to criminal aliens as to how to avoid ICE in new video message saying he's going to stand up to the feds. Knew this was coming. Mayoral-elect Mandami offered advice to illegal aliens on how to evade ICE. Know your rights. Let's go.
Last weekend, ICE attempted to raid Canal Street and detain our immigrant neighbors. As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights. If you encounter ICE, these are the things that every New Yorker should know. First, ICE cannot enter into private spaces like your home, school, or a private area of your workplace without a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That looks like this. If ICE does not have a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you have the right to say, I do not. ICE will show you paperwork that looks like this.
This thing, it looks like an ordinary hiking stick. This is from Rhino U.S.A., and it's built for way more than walking. You'll carry this one
and tell you that they have the right to arrest you. That is false. ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent. If you're being detained, you may always ask, am I free to go, repeatedly, until they answer you. You are legally allowed to film ICE, as long as you do not interfere with an arrest. It is important to remain calm during any interaction with ICE or law enforcement. Do not impede their investigation, resist arrest, or run. One last thing. New Yorkers have a constitutional right to protest, and when I'm mayor, we will protect that right. New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
So what you saw there is him aiding and abetting criminals against federal law enforcement. He said and did there in explaining and talking through in that video how to ensure that you were able to sneak past or hide yourself from ICE. He's telling the criminal aliens, like, hide yourself in your home, lock your doors. Unless they have a warrant, they can't get in. That's type of insurrection that happened on January 6th. And this is a greater threat or attack on federal law enforcement. This, of course, makes their lives from some of the highest platforms in the land. The mayor of New York is an incredibly powerful position. After doing this constant regularity because the right refuses to punish them. We can't even vote to censure Democrats. McKinney, who physically assaulted ICE agents. Democrats like Plaskett worked with Jeffrey Epstein in order for Jeffrey Epstein to effectively be a member of Congress, ask questions during hearings about Donald Trump. Republicans don't have the capacity to vote, even censure, much less kick out of Congress like they did George Santos, but to censure these Democrats. We'll see what happens with Ilhan Omar. This will be actually a great test. A lot of the Republicans have been waking up. I think that Republicans are getting a little spooked about some of the polling, as they ought right to be. Heading into midterms, obviously we do have approximately 1 year before the elections in November of 2026. But ladies and gentlemen, the golden era hangs in the balance. Advantage Gold is the gold company that we use. Advantage Gold keeps us locked in. Precious metals. Let's just say it. We're not here to brag. We're just here to talk about the actual value of gold itself in your portfolio. I'm not saying like liquidate everything, turn into gold. This is not like advice. You don't want me to do your taxes. You will go to jail. What I'm telling you is that this is just something that is a solid earner and has always been. It's done great in my portfolio this year. I've diversified into gold. You can do that. If you have a 401k, IRA, retirement account, choice, just sit back and watch the winning happen at one of America's #1 rated precious metals company. Text Advantage Gold today, right now. 5545. Text the word Benny, BENNY, to 85545. You'll instantly get a free gold investment kit, a $49 value, sent right to your inbox. Don't wait while the gold rally keeps breaking records. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Find out how you will be able to profit and help protect your savings with Advantage Gold. President Trump saying that he's going to rename the Kennedy Center after himself while taking center stage at the honors show. I also want to he was at the Kennedy Center twice in 2 days. I want to get that clip about FIFA, President Trump at FIFA. That'd be funny. As Donald Trump did the Kennedy Center honors, he honored a bunch of legendary actors and artists. And President Trump made a joke about the revamped Kennedy Center that he is completely renovating right now, performing arts venue, awards. This place is hot, he said, and he might name it the Trump Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center. Sorry. Terribly embarrassing. President Trump. Here you go.
I'll tell you what, the Trump Kennedy Center, Kennedy Center, I'm sorry. Each of these terrific honorees has a story of success and triumph that could only have happened in the United States of America. Our country is back.
He is right at home in that hosting role. Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, and George Strait were just some that were honored during the ceremony. Trump called them, quote, the most accomplished and renowned class of Kennedy Center honorees ever assembled.
I recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided to test it with you. If you have diabetes or know anyone dealing with it, you understand how annoying finger pricking can be. The Glucomax changes everything. It's a needle-free glucose meter boasting 99.9% accuracy. All I did was place my finger on the sensor and in seconds got an accurate result. There was no pain, no hassle, and I didn't have to use any disposable strips at all. Click here now to learn more and discover this innovative breakthrough today.
About his best, ladies and gentlemen. We want Florida to stay at its best. Francisco Suarez, who is the current mayor of Miami, is at limit for his term, and there is a new election tomorrow, December 9th, for the critical city of Miami that has a lot of good things going for it. There's a far left winger who is trying to run and ruin all of that. Emilio Gonzalez is set to stop her. We're going to check in with Emilio live right now. Emilio, welcome to the program. How's the race going?
Thanks, Benny. The race is going phenomenal.
Yes.
Our side is fired up. We're motivated. We're excited. And we're going to deliver a big victory tomorrow.
So how is polling looking right now? I know that it is a tight race. Obviously, we just had Jim Jordan on. These are tough midterms. There's obviously prevailing wins against the party in power because the weight of governorship of leadership rests on their shoulders. So what does the polling actually look like?
Well, the polling is actually all over the map. People down here tend not to tell pollsters what they really think until election day. Democrats generally vote by mail. Republicans show up and vote in person. So we're keeping up with our Democratic opponents. This has also turned into a very nasty partisan race, which they've never been here, quite frankly. The Democrats want this race in the worst way. This is President Trump's state. This is the city that will host his library. And obviously, they want this to be a major victory for them.
Yeah, do you think that they could cancel Trump's library if they get in power and probably muddy that job up?
Well, maybe not cancel, but they can certainly put enough obstacles on there to make it a heavy lift. And what we have, as you well know, all the major cities in the United States that are run by progressive Democrats are disasters. Pick one. They're all going down the tubes. And when we're in Miami, we're not going to let that happen. We are dedicated to keeping our city the city of the future. Our city is the city of freedom. Remember, people in Miami come from countries where elections aren't allowed. So everybody's very motivated that this Miami is going to stay Miami and not fall into the same category of places like UCLA, San Francisco, Boston, Chicago. It's not going to happen here, Benny. Not as long as
the delineation between you and your opponent here. Forgive me because I haven't followed the race as closely as we should have on this program. Miami, obviously a critical city for the future and growth of Florida, and also for election integrity and making sure that huge population center is run effectively so that we're attracting more people to the state. So we care a lot about Miami. We're in Miami a lot. But give me a breakdown between what does your opponent want and what are your policies?
Look, the biggest difference is my opponent has not really run anything. My opponent has been a county commissioner. She has no outside work. She's popped in and out of government under the Obama administration. I think the Clinton administration as well. She's never really run anything. So she is going to be a doctrinaire Democratic politician that's going to read from the same playbook as other liberal Democratic big city mayors. I, on the other hand, I've been in charge of something since I was 20 years old. I'm a retired Army officer. I've run organizations with 17, 18,000 employees. I used to be the city manager in Miami for 2 years. So the difference is one of executive leadership. It's also one of perspective and ideology. I'm about taking care of our residents. I think she's about making sure that the National Democratic Party is happy with taking back Miami. It's power over the people. And right now, I'm representing the hardworking people of Miami. She's more interested in attaining powers to see what she can do with it to promote the far left agenda.
Well, looks like the race is really close right now. Here's the tally of in-person voting per Vote Hub. You are winning in-person voting. What's your takeaway message? What's your takeaway message to the voters of Miami here in conclusion, Emilio?
Yeah, we're just not going to let up. Miami is not going to be San Francisco or New York. Miami is Miami. Miami is a land of the free. It's a land. It's the city where President Trump will have his library. There's a reason why they call Florida the free state of Florida, right? And we're just not going to do it. We're gonna fight for our principles, our families, our communities, and we're going to let the world and the nation know that Miami has fought back and that Miami will win. Miami is a city of hardworking, noble, honest people.
I recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided to test it with you. If you have diabetes or know anyone dealing with it, you understand how annoying finger pricking can be. The Glucomax changes everything. It's a needle-free glucose meter boasting 99.9% accuracy. All I did was place my finger on the sensor and in seconds got an accurate result. There was no pain, no hassle, and I didn't have to use any disposable strips at all. Click here now to learn more and discover this innovative breakthrough today.
We're not going to be taking.
This is something that we would very much like to see pushed back on. There were obviously blue victories in blue states, but this is a red state, damn it. And even Miami has a Republican mayor right now. He's done a great job. He seems like a really great dude. He's been on the show a couple times. And so we hope that you carry on in that legacy. Thank you very much. Go out to show up and vote in person. Emilio Gonzalez, Republican candidate for mayor of Miami. Godspeed, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, since we had the candidate on the show, let's go over to Polymarket, check the polls right now. Checking the polls. Oh, no. Oh, no. Look at this. This race has really, really widened since November. And this is since, of course, there was a win for Mondami in New York, and then the gubernatorial races in Virginia, New Jersey. And so that sort of like blew open the spread here. You can see his opponent, Ellen Higgins Longhouse, is here at 95%. Emilio Gonzalez at 3%. This is just likelihoods here. The polls are very, very close, but this is the betting market, what the betting market thinks based on the winds of change in the country. And so I suppose we will see. The state of Florida has excellent election technology. Very, very good. We've got some big breaking stories on that. Maybe that'll be the show tomorrow. Digging in there about what we learned with the Venezuelan election technology and Sparkmatic and the rigging of elections. Crazy. But nonetheless, an underdog here. I think Republicans are going to be underdogs in this midterm election season. All the more reason to lock in and fight and stop blowing each other up. Like, frankly, stop trying to like rip at and destroy the coalition that delivered our movement to the White House and that kept the communists at bay. Are truly one election away from a party that has become sociopathic in their desire to change America forever, to harm the thing that is our birthright. Freedom in this country and a stable and functional nation to leave to our children. That is our motivation, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see if that 3%, we can flip that into a miracle. Thank you, Polly Market. All right. Is there any other... Oh, Trump regrets pardoning Rep. Henry Cuellar after Dems announced he's running for re-election. Oh, no. This is one I can't get my head around. All right, we'll do this, and then we'll do the Trump dance. Oh, man. Trump pardoned a Democrat from a dark blue district in Texas. This is a guy who's famous for actually getting robbed in D.C. He not only got carjacked, he got his sushi stolen from him. Extra insults there. Democrat announced he's running for re-election now. President Trump said he was angry about this. Well, I mean, I just don't know why. Why is this guy getting a pardon in the first place? Don't make any sense. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to explain this. President Trump expressed he was angry with regret over his eyebrow-raising pardon of a Democrat representative, Henry Cuellar, on Wednesday, after the politician quickly confirmed that he's running for re-election in his Democrat congressional seat in Texas. He's 70 years old. He sits in one of the House Democrats' most competitive seats. He faced federal bribery, money laundering, and foreign agent charges for allegedly taking $600,000 from an Azerbaijani state-owned oil company and Mexican bank. So he's like a total scumbag. Why did he get a pardon? No. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Cuellar announced that he will be running or Congress again in the great state of Texas. As a Democrat, Trump raged in a lengthy Truth Social post, such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. His pardon of Cuellar, a rare and moderately pro-life Democrat, has perplexed many Republicans.
I recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided to test it with you. If you have diabetes or know anyone dealing with it,
Our seat in Texas' 28th congressional district is rated as one of 6 House Democrat-held toss-up seats by election handicapper Cook Political Report. By pardoning the Texas Democrat who was indicted by Biden-era Justice Department, Trump seemingly undermined a golden opportunity for Republicans to pick up midterm election seat. Good news. Bad news. I do not understand this one. I have no idea. You know that President Trump, during the FIFA World Cup selection process, number of hysterical things that, I don't know, might be a palate cleanser to this part, which seems like totally nightmarish and is already backfiring. When he brought his famous Tic Tacs in to show the head of FIFA the difference in the Tic Tac size sale under Joe Biden versus him, and then he danced away to the village people. Village people were brought in to perform President Trump doing the Trump dance. President Trump also picking America's place in the FIFA World Cup selection process. I don't really understand all of this, and I'm never going to call it football. It's not football. We're in America here. And this is Donald Trump making his pick here. I don't know if we have the actual. All right, let's see. People were saying this is the funniest clip.
¡Oh, México! ¡Felicidades! México, Grupo A1. Trump, up to you. Don't forget to mingle, to mix.
I think I know what this is going to be now.
Everything.
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
But let's see.
Are you sure? Are you sure this is the ball? You can still change it if you want.
Does he know something that I don't know? Let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot. I agree. Okay.
This is shocking.
United States of America. Excellent. Group D1. Can I ask all the 3 of you to lift like this on your chest, in front of your chest like this? Yeah, the name of the country. We'll give a nice photo. Excellent. And if I can ask you to come in front here for another photo with the paper.
All right, not calling it football. President Trump clearly having a good time there, and the Kennedy Center honors. We want President Trump to get back and locked in. Obviously, the America First movement is facing some major headwinds, some major breakdown. I don't know why exactly the forces of evil have been so successful at ripping the party apart. I don't understand actions. I don't understand some of the internal sabotage. President Trump obviously loving here. At Turning Point U.S.A.'s annual conference in Phoenix, America Fest, which is coming up 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Sold out, 30,000 people. It's going to be an incredible event. Very honored to be there, and we're going to be doing a lot there. And Trump. Unmatched. We have to get the game back together, and we have to stay focused. And you have to, we have to win. You have to see exactly what the left has in store for this nation, for our children, rise of assassination culture, and the moment that we're in. You've got to know what time it is. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to be focused on over the next year. We're going to be working very, very hard. We're going to be in the trenches. We're going to be grinding, and we're going to make sure that we are serving an American future that we would all want. What has in store is very, very dangerous. I'm sick of the distractions. Ukraine, Israel, infighting, tired of it. Hey, enough. Ladies and gentlemen, an American future for you. American Financing. Our friends at American Financing is high-interest credit card debt that, of course, can cripple any family that is intended for you. For these loans, when interest rates are at 20 and 30%, those are usury rates. I hate it for you. Huge numbers of American families are suffering under this style of debt. You should get out from under it and do it now. You can reconsolidate your high-interest credit card debt using the equity in your home. You get excellent rates, like in the low fives at the Fed's fund rates. It's a game changer for people who are paying these sky-high credit cards. Do it today. Call American Financing at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our verse of the day, verse of the day, Christmas-themed verse of the day, from Luke 1:14. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. The whole world stops in silent night and rejoices in the birth of Christ as our Lord and Savior, the armor of God that is here to guide us, especially in this holy season. March with us, ladies and gentlemen, on to victory and into a blessed Christmas season. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
This is, without a doubt, the strangest method I've ever seen to eliminate the bacteria responsible for type 2 diabetes. And
what do y'all think about this one here? Answer the question. Yes or no? Do you think California could turn red?
So much democracy when you employ me. You want to win your next election. I can hurt you in your erection. So much democracy.
There's a illegal that voted. It was a kid from communist China, if I recall correctly, who was a student at the University of Michigan. This is something that should boggle the mind, boggle the senses here in America. There's a literal kid. Here's the DOJ website right here. A Chinese national at the University of Michigan. Communists are trying to take over the country. Well, here's the communists. Chinese national. There is no other political party. You are a member of the CCP or you get bandaged to a Uyghur slave camp. So a Chinese communist national is allowed to vote in the 2024 election. This communist was welcomed here by our student loan and visa program in order to come here and to study at the University of Michigan. I don't know this kid. I'm not trying to pretend I know what they were trying to do here, but it's pretty obvious that what they did was cheat in an election. That's what this is. They caught this one commie. He didn't they catch? They caught this one kid. He slipped through. You know what the best part about all this is? Let's go ahead and read the filing together. At the vote counted. Do you understand this? That like foreign communists from the only, I could call it what it is, call communist China what it is, the only country that really stands in opposition to America around the world are our enemy. They are not our friend. I don't like communist China. Communist China is, well, like just what hell would look like to me. Social credit system, constant surveillance, no free thought, no free speech, concentration camps if you disagree. That's hell. That's a slave state. Okay, that's just a slave state. That's just going back to feudalism, right? That's just rewinding the clock on human progress and go back to the Stone Age. Kings. And the kings are the communists, and they're in charge. And they're dictators for life. There. And China's evil. Everything from organ harvesting and to the COVID policies that they instituted, to the social credit system, to their persecution of the Christian church. They're evil, all right? Their people are voting in our elections. They're voting for Kamala Harris. I assure you, this kid didn't vote for Trump. I don't know that. I'm just going to use the principles of deduction here and say that this a citizen and a national of the People's Republic of China, it's not a republic, registered to vote. Voted. Wasn't stopped. Their vote counted. Detroit. 2024 election. I was a student attending the University of Michigan. He illegally registered to vote. I mean, they made it hard to vote. He registered to vote illegally in the days before 2024 election, using his University of Michigan student ID, and then cast a ballot in the election at a polling location, the University of Michigan Museum of Art in Ann Arbor. The complaint further alleges that Gao made false statements regarding his citizenship on his voter registration application form and his early voting application. After being charged with the state offenses, the court granted Gao a $5,000 personal bond with conditions, including that he does not leave the state of Michigan, surrender his passport. Gao did surrender his passport, but the day before the new administration took office in Washington, Gao jumped bond and fled the country on a flight bound for Shanghai. China. Customs and Border Protection records show that Gao passed through Detroit Metropolitan Airport security using a People's Republic of China passport in his name, but bearing a number different from the number on the passport that he surrendered to the University of Michigan police. So China sprung him from America after he voted illegally. And how severe this all is? His vote counted. I don't think it's a huge headline that illegals vote who have clear ties to the Communist Party of China. I mean, look at this. This is espionage stuff. This is James Bond stuff. So China snuck him either a fake passport that he was able to turn over or a new passport that was able to run through the system. He was able to sneak out right before Trump took office. Isn't that amazing? So how many Chinese communists voted in the 2024 election for Kamala Harris? That's a good question. How many of these sleeper cells were there? Notice how he's voting in a place like Detroit. He's not voting in Idaho. He's voting in a swing state, in a swing city, on a swing university, where you could presumably slide under the radar. He was able to register to vote, was able to cast a ballot. Legally, but legally. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like no one caught him. His ballot counted. Laboring the point. But I'm trying to prove with this instance exactly how stupid our voter laws are in this country. Let's head over to a state where Michigan borders the state of Wisconsin. Of course, we all remember what a nightmare Wisconsin was in 2020. It was one of those states, just like Michigan, where Trump's beating Biden beautifully. Get me some of the charts and numbers from this. In 2020, Trump's beating Biden, and then bing, suddenly there's just Wisconsin. Do you know that mayors of towns in Wisconsin physically were removing drop boxes because they were so fraudulent? So many fraudulent votes were being dumped into them. There's no figuring out where these ballots actually come from. Could all be coming from the Communist Party of China. I mean, that was happening just around the corner in Detroit. Wisconsin elections were a total and complete nightmare. People of Wisconsin knew that. Of course, all those remarkable little, it's always the same thing. It was the same thing in Georgia, the same thing in Arizona, same thing in Wisconsin, same thing in Michigan. Here's the chart that will be burned into all of our minds. Chart that's burned into all of our brains. There you go. Would you look at this? Excuse me. Election night. Right when 90% of the ballots are counted, suddenly, bloop. Every state looks the exact same. Every state, the exact same chart. We figured out a insecurity in our election systems. Found an access point. We weaponized it. And then they broke our elections. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the good part about all this. People paid attention. Paid attention to what was happening in Wisconsin. And on the ballot, because we do still live in what some would call a democracy, a constitutional republic, in that constitutional republic, there was every single state, every single election, there is a new proposition, right, or statute that you vote on. This, and this. Big one in Florida was like, should we allow degenerate weed everywhere? And thank God Floridians voted that down. Said, no, we're not going to be a state of like a bunch of head losers rotting their brains. It's like in California. We're not going to California, Florida. Thank God that happened. But in every single election, there's like something, and that gets put on the ballot through referendum mechanism, people submitting signatures, say, I want to be able to vote on this. Place it on the ballot. Well, here we go. Wisconsin voter ID requirement. Wisconsin voter ID requirement was placed on the ballot through one of these referendum mechanisms. The big battle was getting enough signatures verified from Wisconsinites in order to do this. The best part about it, ladies and gentlemen, is once they got the signatures to verify voter ID with every single vote and have the mechanisms and systems in there that can be programmed to say, nope, that's an illegal communist from China. He's not allowed to vote. He's not an American. There's this person or that person. Yes, this is a resident of Wisconsin who's an American. They can vote. Should be the simplest thing. Landing spaceships on Mars, having Tesla robots do all of our chores. We can't figure out our voter ID. We can't figure out if there's just citizens voting. Of course we can. What happened next? It was magical. Once the question was placed on the Wisconsin ballot, Democrats couldn't fight it. You know, there's very powerful libs in Wisconsin. The Senate, very powerful. It shouldn't be that way, but there are powerful Democrats in Wisconsin. They have a viable party, that's for sure. They don't have it in Florida, but they do in Wisconsin. Article, thank you, Klein. Voter ID requirement will be added to the Wisconsin Constitution after referendum passes. Democrats didn't even fight it. Democrats didn't fight it. They didn't even try. How do they message against this? As we have proven time and time again, this is a 90-10 issue. 90% of the country wants voter ID. You cannot fight against it.
Yes.
Once it is put up to the voters, everyone says, yup. White, black, old, young. Whatever lines you want to carve America up into, everyone says, yup. The only 10% of people that don't say yup to voter ID are the criminal aliens, the literal illegal aliens, members of the Communist Party. Want to rig our elections. And that actually is the makeup of the modern day Democrat Party. Here's the local news report. Passed with flying dominant colors. Wisconsin, once it was put on the ballot, it won. Once it was put on the ballot, it was a victory because
we want to take you back to Wisconsin, where the state Supreme Court race grabbed a lot of headlines, but we want to take a closer look at something else on the ballot. Voters there approving an amendment to the state constitution, which makes photo ID a requirement to vote. President Trump calls this a big win for Republicans. Correspondent Alex Capriello is live for us in Madison, Wisconsin, with more on this. Alex.
Yeah, hey there, Nicole. So much attention, like you rightly pointed out, went towards this Supreme Court race. And despite losing that handily, Republicans here in Wisconsin are still touting yesterday as a major win, particularly because they're focusing so much of their attention now on this new voter ID law. That includes Elon Musk. He's the man who threw more than $20 million behind that Republican-backed candidate, Brad Schimmel, for Supreme Court. Musk writing on X that this was the most important thing. And
it's the most important thing. What is the law now in Wisconsin? Registered voters must present an acceptable form of photo identification, official, federal, and state identification at their polling places.
Amen.
Acceptable forms of ID include a Wisconsin driver's license, Wisconsin state ID, U.S. passport, U.S. uniformed services card, like you're in the military, or a veteran's card. You can also present your naturalization certificate if you've just become an American citizen. Can't fake those things. You run them through a system. Have you ever presented your ID at a voting location? You run them through the system, and the system spits it out. If you are especially if you have the new IDs with the chips in them, it's a whole separate. You're not able to fake this stuff. You're gonna not be able to rig these elections. This is a win. And this is what's happening in California. Oh, it is a thing of beauty. This amazing video that was shared in the year 2020 by President Trump. How elections are run in California. Do you know that it's illegal in California to ask someone for an ID? Do you know this? If you work in a polling location, you'll be put in jail. You ask someone for identification when they're voting. You know that in California, voter drop boxes look like this. Mysterious masked men looking like they're in a bank heist, pulling out by hand stacks of ballots, just flopping them into duffel bags. Super secure. You are looking at ballots. This is what our country has come to. President Trump. Now, just mystery men, urban wear, popping ballots all over the sidewalk. Just a classic, very safe operation. California legislature has banned voter ID, has voted in order to ensure that by fiat, you cannot ask for ID in California. And what has this wrought in California? Ladies and gentlemen, there are massive cases of voter fraud in California. Put up the heritage chart, please. Thank you. Let's go ahead and check the database here for election fraud in California. We have criminal conviction, judicial finding, criminal conviction. These are all frauds. There have been overturning of elections, actually, based on voter fraud. The Department of Justice finds that the person who won the election did so with illegal votes. It's happened all over California. Or Orange County City Council member charged with election fraud. Goodness. What's California woman charged with voter fraud for registering her dog voting in 2 elections. Got it. You ever seen that one? Scroll through them, Klein, please. This is just a 10-second Google search on how much voter fraud is there in California. Compton City Council election overturned in the wake of vote rigging scandal. So the dude who won the election was kicked out of office by a judge because he was using illegal criminal votes to get in office. Amazing. Keep going. Sonoma County man, 77, sentenced for voter fraud. The entire state of California is an experiment. Continue. You got some more? Just hit me with the headlines here. Ahead. Special election for LA County voter receives ballot for person who died 31 years ago. Got it. How hard would that be? Exactly. To rig an election when you're getting stacks of ballots for people that died last century. This is how California runs their election. 8,000 fraudulent voter registration applications filed by a pair of Hawthorne election officials. Oh, only 8,000? That couldn't possibly rig an election. That's the difference between every congressional race in California could have been won or swung by 8,000 votes. Every one of them. How abysmal California is. Do you have anything else? Okay, that's what we had. And we didn't even do. This is just like before 5 minutes before we went live. I was like, hey Alex, find me every single article you can on election. So it took us 5 minutes. In no way is this the complete cases of election fraud that happened in California, even for the last couple of months, years, last 2 or 3 cycles. Canadian man charged with voter fraud after illegally voting in 2016 election. Okay, state of Washington. Either way. How many voters were purged from California's voter rolls recently? I think that's the one thing we're missing here. Weren't there 2 million illegal voters that were purged from California election voter rolls? What I'm saying here is it's a mess. What we've proven in Michigan is, yes, illegals vote and can vote. And if they have the right connections to the communists, then they can just skip town after they vote. They knew that was happening. What we proved in Wisconsin is that voter ID can win when it's placed on the ballot correctly. Democrats have no ability to fight it. California, how many California voters were purged from their despicable voter rolls? 2 million? What do I know? There's 5.8 million Republicans in California. Wild. More registered Republicans, excuse me, in California than any other state. In California, Lord Trump tells me that California was the #1 place for them to ship merch for the campaign. Do not abandon these states. There's no such thing as a permanent blue state. There's no such thing as a permanent red state. It's constant vigilance. That's what we're seeing now. Producers, how many voters were purged from the California voter rolls? Call out by name. ALX, Danny, Jack, Ashley. This is your call. Let me know. 4 producers on the show. We should be able to find out. How many illegal voters have been purged from the California voter rolls? Ladies and gentlemen, it's a nightmare in California. But it doesn't have to be. Same mechanisms. Thank you. California removed 1.7 million illegal voters due to failing return address confirmation notices. 1.7 million? Well, wait a second. Democrats just win California by 2 million votes? California, a swing state? Gavin won by 2 million votes. These categories alone have removed the amount of votes that Gavin and the left have used to rig election. California, can it go red? Now you understand why they're trying desperately to gerrymander California. Ladies and gentlemen, voter registration, there you go. Okay, so we can toss the numbers up. Ladies and gentlemen, there is effort right now to exactly what happened in Wisconsin to California. Amazing thing.
National reciprocity. It means if you have a valid CCW, you'll be able to carry in all 50 states. No more state by state.
It is an effort called Reform California, and it's winning right now. In order to place a voter ID requirement on the California ballot, which of course Democrats cannot defend against, they cannot. What are they going to say? Work through it in your own head. What would a Democrat say in order to fight against voter ID in America's most populous state? Of course, you know what they want to say. We've imported millions of criminal aliens to vote illegally in our elections. We've made our elections easy to rig with zero security, and we want all those criminal aliens to vote for infinity benefits, to plunder the wealth of America's golden state into their pockets in exchange for permanent power for the democratic machine. That's what they want to say. If they were honest, that's what they'd say. And that's why we don't want voter ID, because these aliens don't have IDs. That's what they would say if they were honest. Of course, they have no capacity to just say the truth. The truth ultimately is that we want to replace all Californians with criminal aliens. We don't like the natives of California. We don't like the people who live there. We want all of you to be replaced by an illegal Haitian or Guatemalan. And that's the plan. That's the plan. We prefer that. We prefer to rule over the ashes, right? That's them being honest. Can't be honest, so they can't fight it. And this is what they're fighting right now. California Voter ID Initiative hits 250,000 signatures in just 2 weeks. Go. How many votes, how many signatures do you need from Californians? Well, you need 874,641. So this is well on its way. It's about halfway, about a third of the way, let me get my math right. A third of the way done. Let me do your taxes. In a record-breaking haul, the backers of the California Voter ID Initiative have collected more than 250,000 signatures of the 800 and so thousand that they need in order to force the issue onto the 2026 statewide ballots. Yes, as required by law, today's initiative proponents will file a formal certification with California Secretary of State to announce the initial tally. Ladies and gentlemen, California State Assembly member Carl DeMaio is leading this effort and is winning. An absolutely wonderful thing. We are very, very excited to welcome Carl to the program live. Now, let's go. Carl, welcome to the program. I hear that you're joining us from a unique location. It's the campaign bus, right, for Voter ID California?
That's right. A supporter gave us their RV for free. We wrapped it. We've been driving it up and down the state of California. 72 events over 30 days. That was our initial launch. We're about halfway through, and we're exhausted. I'm in Chico, California. Last night, we were in Redding, California. You don't get 250 people to show up in Redding, California, but that's exactly what we did. We even went to the Bay Area the night before. On Monday night, we were in San Jose. 500 people packed in to a community center in San Jose. And so we are going up and down the state, collecting signatures, training volunteers. We have over 14,000 trained volunteers that are already deployed in just the first 3 weeks of this fight. And in the first 2 weeks, they collected over 250,000 signatures, which is a record-breaking haul for a citizens initiative in the state of California. So this thing has great support. There's a fire that's been lit. And Californians from all walks of life, even Democrats, are signing this initiative because they want to have trust and confidence in our elections. And as you quite perfectly set up, California has the worst run elections in the world, not just in the country. All right. Third world dictators look at California's elections and they're envious. They're like, hey, we don't have to shoot our opponents. We just have to adopt the California election model and we'll win every time. 3.1 million people were just purged. And that was because there was a threat of a lawsuit. But more importantly, all of those indictments that you presented, all of those stories that made it to the media, Benny, that's all happening when nobody is lifting a finger to investigate or enforce the rules. Do you understand how much fraud has to occur in California when you have just on the natural people admitting that they've done something wrong? The lady who got indicted for registering her dog and voting twice posted it on social media and admitted. There it is. She put a sticker on the dog that said, I voted. And she posted it 18 months ago to social media. And people had to complain to the district attorney multiple times to get the DA to even take charges. And so all of those examples that you just cited are just a drop in the bucket because no one in office in California, because all the Democrats are in charge of the DA offices out here, they're not looking for voter fraud. They're covering it up. And so our California Voter ID Initiative, a state constitutional initiative, requires, number one, citizenship verification for anyone registering to vote. It also requires a biennial audit. Every other year, every county's registrar will have their voter rolls audited. And if they're not doing their job, they will be subject to remediation and judicial enforcement. And then finally, we do require voter ID. And so I'm most excited about the fact that we get to clean up our voter rolls. Yes, I want voter ID. That's important. But it has to start with an accurate voter roll, because if you have a bunch of illegal immigrants getting California driver's licenses, and you know that that's the case, what good does voter ID do if you don't first clean up your darn voter rolls that are completely infested with ineligible individuals receiving ballots?
We know full well in Florida, Carl, that illegals get driver's license because they come here and kill Floridians. They come here and they're driving big semi-trucks. Yeah, they get these CDLs in California and they drive all over the country slaughtering people because they don't know how to drive, because they come from third world and they bring third world driving habits to American highways and they kill people. Yeah, we're well aware of how easy it is. And I think that the state of California should be held liable for this. The state of California is done with this, by the way, which is amazing. California, you posted here, the Los Angeles Times shows that 71% of Californians support citizenship verification. How do you even fight this? There is no way. There are some 50-50 issues. There are some issues that, like, you can talk, the Ukraine war, Gaza, whatever. These aren't 50-50 issues. These aren't up for debate. National polling is even worse for Democrats. It shows that this is more like a 90-10 issue in favor of voter ID, Carl. So there's no argument for it. Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. The LA Times.
No argument against it. Forgive me. No argument against it. Here's the national polling, Carl.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Oh my God. This African fish oil trick has normalized blood sugar levels to 103 points for nearly 45,000 diabetics.
Well, here's the national polling, Carl.
Yeah. Yeah, the LA Times poll, is center left. But even the LA Times poll showed a supermajority support for polling for citizenship verification. And what's interesting? The Democrats say that voter ID suppresses votes of minorities and that is racist. Well, in our polling, non-white voters in California support voter ID by a greater margin than these white voters who I call them the guilty white rich liberals of the coast in California. And the minorities are sitting there saying, what's wrong with voter ID? It's not suppressing our votes. That's why we support it. And so if we get this on the ballot, when we get this on the ballot, we are going to have it pass. And, in California, it's very hard to get a citizens initiative on the ballot because, it's expensive. The politicians have made it complicated. It's very legalistic in terms of how you have to sign the paperwork and date it and all that stuff. It costs typically $10 to $15 million to put an initiative on the ballot. But because nobody in the special interest oligarch dark money world supports voter ID, because it's all about good for the people, not good for a special interest, we're forced to do this on a shoestring budget with volunteers. And that's never really happened almost since 1978 with Prop 13, the big taxpayer revolt movement in California. But we're about to do it again in 2025. And I'm so excited because when conservatives show that they can get volunteers on a shoestring budget to get things on the ballot in California, bypassing the politicians, that means that we have ballot access. And that means that voter ID is only the beginning. Next up, we're going to repeal the sanctuary state law in California. And we're going to eliminate the welfare for illegal immigrants that California politicians are giving out. That is a massive draw for illegal immigrants to come into this country through California because they're given all these freebies. And we will go after liberal policy after liberal policy after liberal policy, because in California are waking up and they're adopting conservative ideas. And in California is so important. That's why Reform California wants to do this, just not for voter ID. That's important. But we've got to show conservatives in California that if we ignite this movement, they can take back their state. And for you all watching nationally, I encourage you to watch what's going on in California for two reasons. First, if you wonder how messed up your state can get, just look at California. Because the liberals in your state want to do to your state what they've already done to California. So it should serve as a warning to you why you should be active in your state. Because as Benny just said, red states can go blue if you become apathetic. But the second thing is, help us be the disruptors behind enemy lines. Because all that liberal money to support Democrat candidates in all these other states, particularly red states, it's coming from rich liberals in California. They send their money to your state. So help us light a fire behind enemy lines and help the movement in California. Go to the website, voteridinitiative.com. If you live in another state, chip in a contribution. If you know anyone in California, share that website and urge them to download, print, sign, and mail in. There it is. Download, print, sign, and mail in the petition to us because we need to get this done. And it's just absolutely pivotal, not just for California, but America, that we get voter ID on the ballot.
Yes. You bring up such a great point. I have a final question for you, Carl, but you bring up such an incredible point, which is that what's happened, especially over the last couple of years in America, is that we've just gotten nothing that we've asked for. There's not a single person, gay, straight, black, white, rich, poor, old, young, that wants a bunch of criminal aliens to get access to the treasury of California, the taxpayer treasury of California. No one. It just doesn't matter who you are. Nobody voted for that. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants, and we can prove this out through data, nobody wants criminal aliens to vote. Democrats don't want it. Democrat politicians do want it. But the standard run-of-the-mill, walk down the street Democrat voter is like, no, actually, that sounds really bad. Like, I'm against that. But it's shoved by fiat down the throat of California, that houses the most registered Republicans of any state. And these kind of policies, no one wants. That's not democracy, Carl. That's not even a representative republic. That's just ordering. Like, democracy is when the majority gets, over time, they get what they want, right? They eventually get the policies and the society they want. Nobody's asking for this in California, so it's totally wrong. I love that you're fighting it. I love that you're doing this behind enemy lines. My final question for you is, can you vision cast for us? We have a pretty optimistic audience, and we like seeing the future. What does California look like with tight and secure elections and voter rolls? Do House seats flip? Is there a potential for Republicans to start campaigning there on a national level? What does it look like with sort of the policies that you're saying you're going to project into the future? What does the California future look like, Carl?
You know, as I travel the state, the first thing I start out with in my my rallies is I need to give people hope out here in California. Yep. Because I believe that we're going to be able to take back our state if we get everyone who is upset about the direction of California off the couch and into the streets. and give them the hope that they can actually stay and fight. Most Californians think,
what? Come on. Don't do that. What happened there? Don't get what happened, because they're... Hold on. Whatever. I've got to fix it tomorrow. That time.
It's in, and not only do I want to give you cash for your house, but I
Didn't want that. Alright, everybody, the goal is, okay, I'm gonna give you this, we're not gonna watch it, I'm not gonna watch it, I don't feel this. One of these days here, if y'all can see here, we get this thing. One of these days here, we're gonna do a 101 classing of how to change a turn single switch. Reason why is, we all can see when you hit the left turn single, it starts blinking. We'll hit the right one, does the same thing. So we're gonna do a 101 class. Let's zoom out a little bit there. Here we go. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We gotta change the turn single switches right here. Right, you guys can't see because man, it's dark out. That's alright. I have a light. So we gotta change that thing. So one of these days we're gonna do it. Who wants to go see that? Who would like to see a little class of 101? How to change a turn single switch? Let me know. And it's gonna be an event one of these days. Who would like to go see that? Because one of these days we're gonna do it. Just gotta go buy the part. Buy the part, and then when it comes in, we're gonna do a little 101. What tools required and how to remove it properly and put it back on. Because there's a lot of things when basically removing a turn single switch. There's a lot of things that you have to take consideration. And you guys don't know that. You have to make sure that you do the battery first. And the reason why is, if you don't do that, you have power to the source of the airbag. If that has power, and you try to remove because you gotta remove the whole steering wheel. When you start doing that, then you'll have the airbag that'll blow out. You don't want that. Airbags are not cheap to replace. So we're gonna do things properly and make sure the first thing is get all your tools set up, everything ready. Second thing is you're gonna go there and you're gonna turn off, disconnect the battery, remove the negative battery cable off the battery. Then we start going from the inside. We're gonna do it. So hopefully one of these days, I gotta order the part, and as soon as it comes in, we're gonna do it. So, who wants to learn that kind of stuff? If you don't care, I don't have to do the live. I can do my damn self. I just figured give you guys something to look at. Cause I don't mind. I love working cars. So who wants to do that? Peddlers, I knew you're back there. You want to see it too? Or you don't care? I bet pretty late. I didn't go to bed until early, basically later, more the even time. All freaking night, man. I got, what is it? This freaking cool. So yeah, that's like I was up. I stayed up all night from 5 p.m. last night until basically by the time I probably got to bed about 1 p.m. today. Still late. So, but I tell you guys that I'm gonna do live streams on Mondays and Wednesdays, and sometimes Fridays and Saturdays. Definitely Saturdays. So I'm not backing down, even though I'm tired. I'm still gonna do it for you guys. I keep my word. But we are 100% viewer friendly, everybody. We are planning on going Wednesday live stream. It's not gonna be. We're we're gonna probably go drive around and go look at more Christmas lights. I heard we're at more snow coming in too. It is what it is. Whatever we get, you know, whatever God provides us, we take it a day at a time. So we got here. Oh, no problem. So, yep. So, yeah, Wednesday we're gonna go in. We're gonna go drive around. I don't mind the snow, everybody. I really don't. I don't know. People are saying we got snow coming in. So fucking what? It's snow. You learn to man it up. Get out there and just do it. I mean, that's what it comes down to me. You know, I'm not gonna let that stop me. The only thing that sucks is when it's really cold and if it's really cold and really windy, that's the only way that I might have to back down on that, because I mean, I ain't going out there dressed like I'm going to Alaska. Nah. I'm actually wearing shorts now, bro. I'm wearing shirts and a cutoff shirt. I know, people are gonna think, oh, you're crazy. I got a lot of ain't them I'm walking around. People are always constantly like looking at me weird. I don't give a shit. Really don't. And just like you damn petards. I don't care what you guys say about me. Really don't. So what do you guys in the red? What do you guys think what do you guys all think about that? What do y'all all think about that one? Being California inflicting red. I hope to God that we all can get the voter ID requirement in all states. Every state needs it. Voter ID. Same day voting in person. And if you're not here, you have no one. If you came in the wrong way, you don't have the right to vote. If you're illegal, you do not have the right to vote. You not. That's just my opinion. So, I don't know. I'm looking around, guys, because that's what I do. I have the mind of a security. So I look around. It's called surrounding, man. And your kids don't know about that kind of stuff. It's called observing. Check on your 6 and 12s, 9s and 3s, man. So doing that the third thing will switch, so hey, I don't care. I just do it myself. I'll only know what to do it myself. It could be an hour live stream, but you know, depends how slow I go, and because I've really never done a video and giving you guys a description of exactly what to use, because everything is common sense, people. It really is. A lot of stuff is common sense. That's right. We all need to get involved. Get involved. You ever said get involved? Okay, get involved. All hands on deck. We got to all get involved. If we, like I keep telling you guys, if we don't get involved, we're gonna lose our country. We're gonna lose it. Our country's still on the line right now, because a lot of American people are not trying to get involved, because all they want to do is sit home and sleep and eat hot pockets, eat sit there and eat donuts, drink the coffee, and don't want to get involved. That's basically what it is. And we have a country we have to fight for, everybody. I mean, how many times am I telling you guys that? I told you guys many times. We got a country we got to fight for. We're not going to stop here. I don't know. I mean, if JD Vance is going to run in here and, hey, I'm going to support JD Vance has shown that he's really keeping his word. I mean, I'm going to support JD Vance. I mean, right now I'm a Trump supporter for sure, and I always will be. I mean, but if JD Vance is going to go on here, I'm going to go for it. You know? Just, I mean, as long as they don't portray Trump or portray the American people. We're going to make America great again, and that's all it is. Just like my YouTube, actually YouTube right now is called Illinois for MAGA. It's Make America Great Again, and I still support Ashley Babbitt. Just in case you guys don't think I forgot about her, I still support Ashley Babbitt. You know, the lawsuit is still not going to bring Ashley Babbitt back. I still think that Mike Burns should have got the death penalty. I think that should be happening. And we're learning that now. The pipe bomber, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I hope that we can start getting more things. We still need to know about Thomas Cook, what the fuck his name is. The guy was over and they was on top of the roof there. We need to get more information from them, because I think it's bullshit that we're not getting the information that we need. It's like this all happened when the former president, fucking FJB, in the fucking office. All this shit's not gonna happen, and this stuff we need the information. I mean, I do know Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, they're doing a lot of stuff there. They're doing a lot, so it's, that's why it's our job, our job to do our part as Americans. It's called We the People. Got to get involved. Looks like I got another new comment there. I don't know why I just don't out. You all need to start getting involved. Y'all need to start getting involved and doing your thing there. Well, I mean, I do everything I can do. I'm always involved in doing politics. So just because I don't go live every single minute or every second a day, I don't need to. Because I don't need y'all to be holding my hands. I'm very capable of getting up every morning and doing my thing and doing what I have to do and getting involved and talking to people. Because in my heart, that's what I have. I have it truly out there. I believe in the country and I want things to get better for us. So yeah, y'all need to get out and do things, man. I don't know. I don't also tell you guys, this stuff that just needs to change. But like I said, I've been up all night, up since yesterday. Then I did sleep for about 2.5 hours. I got sleep, but I'm still tired. I had to work on the car today. But it is what it is. I mean, why not doing more work on the car? I don't sit around people. I don't sit and bitch and moan about being tired for Tuesday. So, but like I do. So, I am a true patriot. I do a lot more than you think, lady. So, but out there, we are gonna go ahead into the live stream because I got things to do.